Hey guys, welcome back to my podcast Because You Belong Here. This is Michaela Dice, and I am so excited for you to join me here on the podcast. My name is Michaela, right? It is Michaela with a long I, not a long A like Michaela or Mikola, but my name is Michaela. And for 35 years, that has been my name. And for 35 years, people have been calling me Michaela or Mikola or I don't know, whatever else. And really, I've gotten to the point where I tell people, hey, I'm Michaela, but I answer to anything close. And I think that it's kind of awkward that my name is so interesting. Most of the time people are like, oh, your name is so beautiful. And I kind of brush over it because a lot of times I know those people probably won't remember it next time that they say my name. But I've been trying to remember when people say, is it Michaela? Just to politely say, it's Michaela. Because I've been kind of convicted about being so nonchalant about my name. I don't know exactly the history of my name or where it came from. Kind of a complicated mess. But I do know that my name is Michaela. And that the different parts of my name could mean different things. It could be similar to Michael, which means who is like God. Just saying that nobody is as high as God. It could be that the second part of my name is Kyla. It could mean something similar to Kyle. From my research, could mean victory. But either way, my name is Michaela. And I have started realizing that by being nonchalant about it, I wasn't really taking ownership in who I was. Bear with me. I am getting to a point. But so many people have called me Michaela my whole life that and I'm a people pleaser. Okay? Self-proclaimed, working on in recovery for being a people pleaser. It's something that I've just always done. I have to say thank you to my husband very frequently because he reminds me that it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to hold the line on things. And that I don't always need to worry about what people are going to think or how they're going to feel as much as what is right. So, I say all that to say that as I've been kind of processing this recently, I realized that in an effort to make sure that people didn't feel uncomfortable by not remembering that my name is Michaela and not Michaela, that I'm discounting myself, right? Like I'm putting myself in a position where once that person calls me Michaela and I don't correct them, for the rest of forever, they call me Michaela, and at some point somebody says, her name is Michaela, and then it's super awkward for them, right? Like, I'm sure you've been in that situation, and where you're either the person saying the wrong thing or the person who's being called the wrong thing, and you just don't know how to respond, right? So, the reason that I am talking about this right now is because as I have launched my website and started this new season of my podcast, and I've been really focusing on and working on being consistent so that I can sit with the Lord and kind of, I don't know, grow closer to Him, because I can't do this and speak life into other people if I am not spending that time, right? So I've been very convicted about not taking ownership in who I am and who I am called to be. It directly ties into how I feel about my name, I think, because we've been very specific about naming each of our children. They all have a name that means something that I have prayed over them since we found out about them, or since before we even knew they were going to be our kid. each of them being adopted, we've had interesting stories and prayer and different things. And so they are all called by a name. They're all called by a name that I felt the Lord said, this is who your child is going to be. This is who that one's going to be. And so every time I say their name, I'm speaking over them who God has called them to be. And so I think that it's so important, even if you don't know what your name means or it doesn't mean what you want it to mean or who you want to be. That's not what I'm talking about. Isaiah 43:1 says, "But now, O Jacob, listen to the Lord who created you. O Israel, the one who formed you says, do not be afraid, for I have ransomed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." And I think that so often we forget that. We forget that He has called us by name. He ransomed us when we were lost. We forget that He calls us His, and that even when we were His foe, as it says, as scriptures say, like, when I was your foe, still your love fought for me. So I was watching a video today of a guy reacting to Reckless Love by Corey Asbury, and it totally wrecked me. So that's where that came from. But the fact that He ransomed you with His life, He knew who you were. He knew who you were going to be, and He knew He knew that He loved you, and He knew your name. I have called you by name. You are mine. And I think so many times we brush past that. We think, oh, I can't be good enough for that, or I can't be loved by Him. I can't be pursued by Him. But you know what He wants? He wants to chase you. He wants to pursue you. He knows you. He knows your heart. He knows your name. He knows your past. But more importantly, He knows your future. Let that sink in. He knows your future, and He calls you by name because He loves you. And I think I've just been really convicted about this lately because I have kind of brushed past who I am. I've put it aside because I'm afraid people are going to think one way of me or another way of me or whatever it might be. But I have been called by the Lord to love people. Anybody who knows me personally, in person, or has ever met me knows that's what I do. I love people, and that's just who I am. That's why I have this podcast, because it is so vitally important to me that you know that He has called you by name, that He loves you. He ransomed you with His life. It was worth shedding blood for you because He loves you so much. That's it. He loves you, and He knows your name, and He wants to sit with you and fellowship with you and have that relationship with you. I know, it's so crazy. Sometimes it's so hard to wrap your brain around, but it is just that simple. He wants you to sit. He wants you to talk to Him and tell Him about your day, or good things, bad things, all the things in between, having conversations with Him throughout your day, and just allowing Him to call you. And I've just gotten I've learned that there are times when I am by myself and I will just ask the Lord, "Hey God, I'm here. I love you. I want to know what you have to say to me today." Sit in the quiet, and He will tell you. It may not be anything major. It may not be anything loud or unbelievable. but he wants to talk to you. He wants to call you by name. You are his. Allow yourself to wrap yourself in that, to embrace the fact that you are his. He calls you by name. Let that be your name. And don't forget. Do not be afraid because you are his. He created you. He knows you. He knows your heart and your passions and your purpose. He knows your name. Okay? I know I've repeated it 1,000,000 times, but it has been so huge to me over the last few weeks of just processing it through that lens of not forgetting my name, not being proud of my name. It's never that I've never not been proud of my name. I just don't like making people feel awkward. So dumb, I know. But to process it through that whole thought process of saying, like, I know who I am. He calls me by my name. So it's okay that I want people to call me by my name, right? Like, it's that simple. It's that easy. I want you to remember that. He calls you. He knows you, and I want you to take ownership of the fact that he loves you that much. Whatever comes next, whatever has come before, whatever has gotten you to the point where you are right now, embrace and just sit. Nothing else needs to be said or done, but just sit and let him call you by name. Let him wrap you up in that. And just embrace it. Everything good will come from that moment. Everything, he will chase you, he will pursue you. Just let him. Yeah, that's it. I hope that you know that you are called and that you are loved. You've been ransomed. And no matter what got you to this point. So God changed people's names in the Bible a lot. There were a lot of times where they were named something and then they had an experience, an encounter with him, and he called them something new. Like, there's several times where it happened. Like Paul, the Apostle Paul, his name was Saul, and he persecuted people. He killed people. He was not a good guy. He had a divine encounter with the Lord, and the Lord changed his name to Paul. And I think that is so important to remember, because he knew that he was going to change Saul's name. Paul means humble. And I think that coming from that place of arrogance, changing his name to Paul after this moment with God, this crazy moment, there's a whole lot to the story, but he changed his name to Paul because he wanted him to, from that moment forward, the arrogant persecutor of people, Christians, became a humble follower of the Lord. So, I say that to say, no matter what you've called yourself up to this point, no matter who you've been, no matter who people know you as, it is time for you to step into that new identity. When you allow the Lord to ransom your life, when you allow the Lord to take over your heart and you accept him as your Savior and you say, yes, Lord, I want to walk with you. I want to shed everything from before and I want to move into what you have for me. When you do that, you become a new creation. The old has passed away and the new has come. Your name is now His. Okay? Whatever He calls you, whoever you are, you become someone new. And I think that it's so important for you to remember that, to know that, to identify that. Acknowledge that you are someone new, and it is okay if people don't like it. It's okay if the people who have known the old you, who have known you up to this moment, want to call you something different. You need to take ownership of who the new you is, who you are called to be, who you are going to be passionate to become. Step into that role, step into that new identity, and let Him call you by that name, because you are His. Thank you guys so much for being here. As always, connect with me if you want to have more conversations about these things. If you want to know what it looks like to accept Him, what it looks like to walk it out or to acknowledge Him in a new way, feel free. You're welcome to contact me on Instagram or Facebook or my website, which is MikaylaDice.com. Mikyladice.com. So thank you guys so much, and I just pray that the Lord would bless you this week and that you would just feel Him chasing you. I ask that the Lord would walk with you and call you by name this week, and that you will encounter Him in an all new way, and that you will understand the fullness of His love this week. I love you guys.